So when you think of the 1950s, what's the first thing that pops into your head? You know, those perfect suburban families, classic cars, maybe the birth of rock and roll? Well, it was all of that, and honestly, so much more. This was a decade that didn't just change America. You could say it basically built the modern America we're living in right now, from the gadgets in our homes to the very shape of our country.
If you want to understand the 50s, you really have to start with this one powerful idea: the era of the American dream. I mean, think about it. For a generation that had just scraped through the Great Depression and then fought a world war, the 1950s must have felt like a huge collective sigh of relief. This wasn't just some catchy slogan. It was a real belief that a good, stable, prosperous life wasn't just a fantasy. It was actually within reach for the average person.
So what was fueling all this optimism? Well, it all boils down to the economy. The post-war boom was just roaring, creating jobs and wealth, which unleashed this incredible hunger for new products. Things that promised to make life easier and way more fun than ever before.
And we're not just talking about small improvements here. For a lot of people, it was like science fiction was jumping right out of the books and landing in their kitchen, their car, their living room. It was this incredible explosion of new stuff.
And man, the pace of this change, it was just stunning. In 1953, the TV dinner gets invented, which of course makes perfect sense for a country that was now obsessed with gathering around the television. Then, just 1 year later, automatic sliding doors become a real thing. Suddenly, a trip to the grocery store felt like you were stepping into the future.
And the innovations just kept coming. We got velcro, that space-age fastener that seemed like pure magic. We saw the very first seatbelts in cars, a super important safety upgrade for a country that was always on the move. And of course, color television started to show up, turning that old black and white world into something totally new and vibrant. But, these changes weren't all just happening inside the house. The nation itself was growing and changing in a big way, both in its politics and its actual geography. Two presidents were at the helm during this time. You had Harry S. Truman, who led the country out of World War II and right into the 50s. Then he was followed by the war hero Dwight D. Eisenhower. Everybody called him Ike. And his presidency really defined this whole era of good times and prosperity.
And speaking of presidents, something huge happened on the political front. The 22nd Amendment got ratified. People called it the FDR Amendment because Franklin Delano Roosevelt had been elected 4 times. This new rule officially limited all future presidents to just 2 terms, a change that obviously still shapes our politics today. And the country itself was actually getting bigger. Physically bigger. At the very start of 1959, the United States officially welcomed its 49th state, the huge northern territory of Alaska. And they weren't done. Just a few months later, in August of '59, Hawaii officially joined the Union as state number 50. And just like that, you have the 50-star flag we all know today. 1959 was a pretty big year for map makers.
Okay, so you've got this booming economy, an expanding country, which leads to the next big question. What did this new, confident America actually sound and look like? This is where we get into the culture, the nation's new beat.
Think about it. You've got more families with cars, with TVs, with record players. Plus, they've got more free time and more money to spend than ever before. So, naturally, these brand new forms of entertainment just exploded into the mainstream, and they became a huge part of what it meant to be an American. And let me tell you, television was king. Millions of people would gather around their sets to watch shows like the hilarious quiz show You Bet Your Life, which kicked off in 1950 with the one and only Groucho Marx. Then, in 1954, the Nat King Cole Show made history. It was the first major network TV show hosted by an African-American performer, a truly massive cultural moment.
Sports were also becoming a national obsession, especially pro football in the years right before the Super Bowl even existed. The absolute powerhouses of the decade were teams like the Cleveland Browns, the Baltimore Colts, the Detroit Lions, and the LA Rams.
But maybe the biggest cultural shift of all was happening in music. Back then, the industry had this category they called race records, which was basically music made by and for African Americans. And this incredible, powerful well of blues, gospel, and R&B talent, well, it became the direct foundation for a brand new sound that would completely take over the nation: rock and roll. So when you boil it all down, the 1950s was really a decade defined by firsts. From game-changing technology and new political rules to cultural landmarks and, finishing up the 50-state union, this period really did lay the groundwork for the America we all live in today. Which leaves us with a pretty big question, right? In just one decade, we got color TV, life-saving seatbelts, the 2-term limit for presidents, and the final 2 stars on our flag. So out of all those incredible firsts, which one do you think really, truly changed America the most? Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.